Hello, everyone, and welcome to Demo Day. My name is Angela Kuyava. I'm the Managing Director of the Desai Accelerator. Desai is the University of Michigan's early stage startup accelerator. Our focus is to help founders who are recent U of M grads build financially sustainable, revenue-generating businesses. We do this by providing mentorship, funding, talent, and they provide each other with peer support. Over the last 5 years, we've built a portfolio of 31 companies, and you will see 4 of those companies pitched today. These individuals joined us for a year of planned and unplanned firsts. We intended to spend 10 months in program this year rather than the normal 16 weeks. And we knew we were going to start with an intensive 2-week boot camp. We just didn't expect that boot camp to be 10 6-hour days on Zoom. That's a 6-hour Zoom meeting. And we certainly didn't expect that this entire cohort, this entire program would be virtual, or that we would be here today on a virtual demo day. And as if there weren't enough uncertainty in running a startup, these entrepreneurs grappled with unpredictability in this program, with their living arrangements, and with their health and the health of their families. I cannot stress enough that they manage these challenges with courage and tenacity and striking resilience. They're innovators in the truest sense of the word. And while I'm certain the best is yet ahead of them and they will accomplish so much in the coming years, I can honestly tell you that I feel like I've seen them at their best already. It is my honor to introduce you to these individuals today. But it wasn't all a struggle. We were able to spend time together in person safely. This is what it looked like. We bonded over 30-minute energy sessions and daily stand-ups. We even managed one in-person meeting where every single founder was there, even though some of them had already moved out of state. Later, I will share some fun facts that we learned about each other over the summer. Each year, the accelerator also hosts an intern cohort. We recruit, hire, manage, and pay 10 students from the University of Michigan who spend their entire summer with us completing impactful projects for the founders and their businesses. And despite being a fully virtual internship this year, these wonderful students completed 65 projects for our founders, and so we thank them today. We were also joined by this amazing group of lead mentors, including our entrepreneurs in residence, Michael Godwin and Satish Melnaik. They committed to spending time every single week with our founders, and we're so grateful for their expertise and their generosity. We also had some program sponsors: Bodman Law, UHY, Siren PR, Canopy Social, and our colleagues at the Zell-Lurie Institute. And I would be remiss if I didn't also thank our generous benefactors, the Desai Sethi Foundation, the William Davidson Foundation, Tim and Lori Wadhams, Innovate Blue, and the Founders Fund. We had 47 speakers join us for workshops and candid conversations, and we're grateful for their energy and expertise. I'd like to take just a second to thank our colleague, Michelle Wander at the Zell-Lurie Institute. Michelle spent the summer with us and helped Katie and I take this program virtual. It was one of her workshops that led us to develop 30-minute energy, which kept our founders all going through these 10 months. And happy birthday, Michelle. I am joined by two amazing colleagues. Dan Marchini was one of our summer interns, but stayed on to assist us with gathering critical data and performing analysis for our portfolio management, and he is helping shape this year's annual report. And Katie and I have already lived through some of the craziest professional circumstances. We had simultaneous pregnancies. We had a number of office moves, and now a pandemic. I need you all to know that Katie is incredibly intelligent. She thinks big, and she makes me laugh every single day. Friends, it is no small feat to manage 10 people under normal circumstances. But Katie was able to do that this year with our interns, managing them all over the country, this group of people who have never even seen each other. And by all accounts, they had just the most wonderful experience. She's amazing, and I wouldn't have wanted to do this with anyone else. So back to demo day. We're going to have some fun here, but I want to remind everyone that this is what demo day normally looks like for us. We're at a theater, there's a spotlight, there's music, the audience, you're just vibing off of the audience when you're talking. And these founders don't have that today, right? They can't see you. They see that you're in the attendee list, but it's different. It's different when you're virtual. So you can help them out by doing what you've been doing as you're coming in. Fill that chat with good luck messages, with congratulations, point out when you like that they've said something awesome. Really show them that you're here for their support. And if you have questions that you want answered in the Q&A section after the pitches, please use the Q&A function of Zoom, and we'll make sure to direct those questions to the founders. It'd be really helpful too if you could include either the team name or the founder's name you want the question to go to. So let's get started. Let's have some fun today. I'd like to introduce our first presenter, Natalie Fong of Nochi. So this summer, I learned a few things about Natalie. I know that she managed to continue to hang out with all of her friends during quarantine on Discord. And because of Natalie, I know what a Discord server is. She also, despite being from Columbus in Ohio, chose to do her education at the University of Notre Dame and the University of Michigan. So we already know that she's intrepid. Natalie, please come to the stage, introducing Nochi.
Hi, everyone. My name is Natalie, and I'm the founder, CEO of Nochi, a studio creating anime games for women, made by women. So quarantining has actually sort of been my jam this past year. I've been on the Nintendo Switch train and played over 100 hours of games, especially when the beginning of pandemic, Animal Crossing came out, so I was stuck on there. But my favorite types of games are actually romance anime ones. However, the titles that are available for me to play today aren't doing it for me. As a female heroine in these games, I'm constantly needing rescued because I'm useless as a character. Or the plotline is extremely annoying because I'm always getting steamrolled by the male lead and I can't drive my own narrative in the story. So needless to say, these stereotyped female experiences really don't jive. So this leads to the problem. There aren't many titles available right now. And of the ones that are available, they're originally produced for Asian audiences, then later just merely translated to English. This leads to several issues, including language mistranslation. It's not a really great gameplay experience when you're playing along a storyline you're hooked in, but then there's grammatical errors. But the biggest offender of all is all the cultural mistranslation, because gender dynamics aren't the same in the East compared to the West. And so you see these complaints manifest online in communities like Reddit, where female gamers such as myself, we congregate on Reddit and complain about the behaviors of the characters, especially the male ones being predatorial. So this is where Nochi comes in. We are creating anime games for females by a US female creative team with in-house developed software. What most people don't know is that female players account for 63% of the $43 billion mobile gaming market. And anime is growing. Recently, Crunchyroll, which is an anime streaming only platform, they got acquired by Sony for $1.2 billion this past December. And then for 2020, Netflix reported that over 100 million households watched anime on their platform. And Netflix saw anime consumption grow by 50%. So the market is super exciting in this space for both female gamers and anime. How can Nochi monetize from this? Our business model comprises of 3 revenue streams. First is in-app purchases. Our games will be freemium models, so it is free to download, but we will be creating a world and characters that people want to get to know better and dive deeper into. So they're willing to pay for these in-app purchases to get to know our characters. Second, we're also monetizing from game experiences. Females are willing to spend money and watch and participate in events like panels at anime conventions. But they don't have much opportunity to do so right now because the studios are in the East. So Nochi will be there in person as soon as anime conventions open back up. In the meantime, there hasn't been a successful substitute for it online yet. And so you see a lot of conversations online about how people can't wait to attend these events again, and are even purchasing and pre-registering for these events in hopes of the pandemic being over. So Nochi will be there. And lastly, we will also have merchandise, where we will sell at in-person events like these anime conventions, and we also will sell online through our website shop. The majority of our revenue will be coming in from in-app purchases, and the other 2 revenue streams will account for about 25%. Before we even launched the game, we were actually attending anime conventions pre-COVID. And at these conventions, we were actually making revenue sales. So we didn't have a game out yet. We were just showing concept artwork, and we were telling people about our stories. And we noticed that users, female gamers especially, were very excited for a US-based studio creating content that they wanted to see. So with that support and the early revenue sales from selling prints and sharing these stories, we were able to create our first proof of concept called Sifting Time, which is actually available in the Android and iOS stores right now. So feel free to check it out on your phones and download it. And from there, where we launched it this past summer of 2020, we decided to go into our first freemium title. So that free to download game with the in-app purchases. And that title is called Somnium 11. So we raised the Kickstarter in the fall of 2020, and we successfully raised $14,000. This amount fully covers the development cost of the game. Our team is ready to take this on because we have a breadth of experiences related to game development, which allows us to truly produce everything in-house. Between all of us, we have experiences in branding and merchandising, specifically in the toys and entertainment department, and for private labels. We also have experiences in freelancing for game studios as well. Beyond our core team leaders, we also have team members who are helping us in our operations, from script writing to the game development to even managing our social media. So truly everything is developed in-house at Nochi with female gamers in mind. So in 5 years, Nochi will build a new genre of romance games. We're able to push cultural significance into the spotlight because we can and it matters. Similar to how Final Fantasy redefined the fantasy sci-fi genre, and it's allowed its studio to expand into numerous opportunities beyond just gaming, Nochi 2 will redefine the meaning of romance anime games. Female gamers will not only turn to Nochi for better anime game titles, but they will also be proud of playing romance games. So even though we're excited by the traction we've seen with Somnium 11 through the successful Kickstarter campaign, and also seeing responses online, the hype on Reddit, we're seeking help to accelerate our customer acquisition so that we can get the game into as many female gamers' hands as possible in time for the Somnium 11 launch, which will be this upcoming fall. So please reach out if you'd like to join Nochi in the female gaming movement. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you so much, Natalie. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Lynn, the Associate Director of the Desai Accelerator. As we get ready for our next founder, I was hoping you could all help us settle some of our most hotly debated topics. Back in October 2020, nearly 5 months and 2 years ago, the US was engaging in tough debates, and our team wasn't immune. That's right, we joined in the great Apple debate. So can you answer this poll and help us end this epic conversation once and for all? Tell us which Apple is best.
All right. And while you're answering the Apple questions, I want to introduce you to Nana Brichum and Janice Newson. So what I learned about Nana this year is that she is a product aficionado. Some people find things that work for them and continue to use them, but Nana is going to try out the newest things in Black hair care and beauty. She's also my go-to person for current events. So if there's something that I want to talk about that's been in the news or in popular culture or in politics, I know that Nana's the person I can go to for that conversation. Janice Newson, I've never met somebody with so many hot takes that are so similar to mine. So her favorite dessert is chocolate muffins, but she has the same opinion about cake as I do, and we can talk about that later. But like me, her mom also took her to fabric stores when she was a little girl, and she crochets. She is going to be here to talk next about Lily and Augusta. So please welcome Janice Newson.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all for being here. My name is Janice Newson. I'm co-founder of Lily and Augusta, where we are developing plant-based braiding hair. Now, I love wearing braids, but braids don't love wearing me. When I wear braids, I get things like itchy scalp, skin acne, and neck pain. And I'm not alone, as 42% of Black women who wear braids also experience these same issues of irritation. Now, why is this happening? Well, braiding hair is actually made from hazardous materials. Things like PVC that go into making our pipes also go into making braiding hair. And not only that, braiding hair is unsustainable. We estimate about 97.8 million pounds of plastic pollution result from braiding hair in the United States each year. And even if you were to use another option, such as human braiding hair, this is also unsustainable, as well as inaccessible and exorbitantly priced. Now, this discomfort and waste should not have to happen. And it won't happen anymore, thanks to our solution of hair made by Black women and for Black women. We have a vision for hair without harm at Lily and Augusta, and we are developing hypoallergenic plant-based braiding hair to fulfill that vision for Black women everywhere. We're eliminating the pain and plastic pollution, but we're also offering much more. Currently, braiding hair lacks an ingredients list on the packaging, which is something we would like to include to have transparency with our customers. Our braiding hair will also be available online, so you'll no longer have to trek to the beauty supply store when you're getting your hair done. And we know people are accustomed to certain features that they actually like about braiding hair, so we want to maintain those, such as a variety of colors, a variety of lengths, and flame retardancy for their safety. Now, why are we the ones to do this? Well, for one, we have an intimate experience with the pain point. Nana and I both wear braids, and we've been dealing with the same issues that our customer is facing. We're also natural scientists. We have degrees in biology and ecology, and we see a clear need for a sustainable solution within this industry. And we're not alone, as we have mentors, including Dr. Peter Miner at Carbon 180, Renee Morris at Uncle Funky's Daughter, and John Prakasha, who has 30 years of experience at Johnson & Johnson and making personal care products. Now, we are currently developing our hair, but we do intend to sell this hair direct to consumer via e-commerce. And the value proposition to our customers is that they'll be able to finally address that irritation that they've been experiencing when wearing braids, but also incorporate a sustainable Black female-owned brand when there is currently a lack thereof. Now, let's get a better idea of how much people actually spend on this hair. On average, you'd buy braiding hair for $4 a bundle, and you'd buy 10 bundles at once, and you get your hair done about 3 times a year, which would equate to $140 spent on braiding hair within 1 year. Extrapolating out, that gives us a $1.5 billion market for Black women with natural hair who wear braids. And to clarify, natural hair is hair that is maintained at the texture that grows out of the scalp. Now, we'll be focusing in on the $71 million serviceable attainable market of Black women in the DC, Atlanta, and New York metropolitan areas, as there is a high concentration of high-end salons in these cities, as well as Black women with expendable income. Now, we're not only differentiating ourselves by addressing irritation and having a plant base, but we are also meeting our customer where they're at by including those features such as flame retardancy for their safety, as well as the hair being offered in multiple lengths. And we are a Black-owned company, which is not something that's commonly seen within the braiding hair market. To date, we've been able to raise over $100,000, including a convertible note, as well as other grants and pitch competitions. We currently have a provisional patent on Phragmites-based braiding hair, which is braiding hair made from an invasive wetland species. We've done customer discovery with over 200 Black women, and we've been featured in publications like Blavity, Essence, and Cranes Detroit. And this is where we're headed. We project the rest of the year working on creating that MVP, which we will start fundraising to have that finished product and also support our launch. We'll be doing some beta testing to all culminate into that finished product, which we will then begin a crowdfunding campaign, and that will all end with our launch in September of 2022. Now today, we're asking for connections to founders and CEOs in the Black hair care industry, connections to potential textile advisors from companies like Lensing or Eastman, and we'd love to speak with CPG brands that have raised funds pre-product or angels who are interested in investing pre-product. Lilly and Augusta will be the place for sustainable hair care. Black women are going to continue wearing these hairstyles, and we need to ensure that these styles are safe for us and the environment. Experience hair without harm with Lilly and Augusta. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Janice. I want to share the results of our Apple poll. Turns out I was not wrong. Honeycrisp is the best apple. Next up, I'm going to actually ask you to help solve another one of our big debates. We have a lot of bakers on the team, and this topic shook even the most steadfast of us. I wish we could have had a Great British Bake Off or Desai Bake Off, but since we can't, please help us. What happens when you add frosting to a brownie?
All right, and I am here to introduce you to the founders of Thaura Network. Rima Fadlallah and I bonded this summer over online personality quizzes. Rima will take any online personality quiz there is out there. She also amazingly drinks more than the required amount of water your body's supposed to have every day. And Yasmin Kadu, once in her life, was a foot model, and she is afraid of birds, which was unfortunate for her this summer since I took up bird watching as my COVID hobby. But now I'm going to pass it on to Yasmin from Thaura Network. Take it away.
I'm Yasmin Kadu, and I'm the COO and co-founder of Thaura Network. On August 4th, 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate devastated the city of Beirut. It killed over 200 people, wounded over 5,000, and left 300,000 temporarily homeless. When the news broke, my phone was being bombarded with texts and WhatsApp messages. The most accurate and trusted information I was able to get on the blast was videos from WhatsApp sent by family in Lebanon, group chats with Lebanese friends that live all over, and dedicated social media accounts like the one you see on the slide. We weren't sharing articles from CNN, the New York Times, the Washington Post, or any other place that Americans rely on for accurate information in times of crisis, because the reality for millions of Arabs and Muslims is that we don't trust those media outlets. I soon realized that it wasn't just me scrolling through WhatsApp for answers, but 2/3 of Arabs and Muslims report relying on family chats or social media for news they can trust. Arabs and Muslims need an outlet where their identities are depicted authentically and where they can drive the conversation. Representation matters, and our audience is growing increasingly frustrated with being constantly spoken for. But Arabs and Muslims are not the only community that have gone through historically underserved in media. Latinx, The Juggernaut, and Blavity are just 3 examples of dedicated media site for underserved audiences, and these solutions have been gaining momentum over the past few years. While this problem is not unique to our communities, our solution, Thaura, is. Thaura is building the most trusted network of news and lifestyle brands for Arabs and Muslims. In Arabic, Thouda means revolution, and our content transforms the way Arabs and Muslims engage socially and politically. Let's introduce you to our untapped and growing audience. Today, we have 6.2 million Arabs and Muslims living in the US, and that number is expected to double in less than 20 years. Arab Americans and Muslim Americans are also younger than the average American, and this is important because our target audience can consume our content for decades. And lastly, Arab and Muslim Americans have a higher capacity to spend given their higher than average household incomes. We've started our revolution through our online communities, digital print media, and broadcast media, and we plan to add several more brands to this multimedia empire in the next few years. Since spring 2020, we have expanded to 3 public brands with our 4th in the making as we speak. We started with Dearborn Girl, a podcast highlighting stories of Arab or Muslim women in our local community. We then expanded to Missing Pages, a local anonymous submissions blog. Lastly, we launched Typical Arab, a TikTok channel celebrating Arab culture. I want to talk to you a little bit about what we were able to do with our first brand, Dearborn Girl. Originally, the goal of Dearborn Girl was to create a storytelling space for local Arab or Muslim women. We soon learned that the opportunity to create a digital community space for Arabs and Muslims was much larger than we thought. Although all of Dearborn Girl's marketing was focused on targeting our local enclave in Dearborn, our local podcast became a national brand in months. Not only did we gain thousands of fans across the nation, but we were featured on national news outlets several times to showcase our work. Only months into the podcast, and we were selling live events, branded merch, and digital ads. And most recently, we've added memberships to our business model. Our audience is clearly thirsty to get their hands on our content. Over the past several months, we've achieved 6 times growth in our audience, and we're on track to tripling that number by next year with our new email series, El Nazar. Al Nazar is a weekly email series producing news and culture content our audience can trust. To inform the design of this product, we sent out a survey to 500 members of our communities. And what was even more interesting that what our respondents said was actually what they did. To drive survey responses, we took the opportunity to test in a built-in referral program where respondents get rewards in return for a number of referrals. In only 3 days, a whopping 33% of all survey responses came through referrals. Seeing people get excited about completing a survey in return for rewards paints a very exciting picture for what user growth can look like when our audience can actually refer content that adds consistent value to their lives. To meet our audience growth goals, we're going to learn from what we discovered through Dearborn Girl. In addition to more obvious marketing strategies like leveraging Facebook and Google Ads, we will acquire users by targeting other cultural enclaves like Dearborn, where word of mouth marketing is key. We will also build on our referral program and find the most exciting and most cost-effective incentives that encourage our fans to share our content widely. Lastly, we plan to recruit cultural ambassadors from universities and organizations across the nation to champion our brand within their networks. We have a diversified monetization strategy, and as mentioned earlier, we are currently selling ads, event tickets, merch, memberships through Dearborn Girl. And by 2022, we will also add subscriptions and brand partnerships to the mix, with subscriptions counting as the biggest slice of this pie. And these 2 proud daughters of Dearborn, Michigan are the team to do it. I'm Yasmin, and I'm the COO of Thouda with a background in community organizing and podcast storytelling. My co-founder and Thouda CEO, Rima, earned her MBA at Ross and spent a year as a digital media consultant for Gary Vee's VaynerMedia. Help us visualize a world where our community is not only seen, but heard with Thouda. Today, we are asking for connections to mentors in the media and entertainment space, and as well as intros to potential angel investors. Thank you.
Thank you, Yasmin. I'm going to share the results of our last poll. Many of you felt like it's still chocolate and you'll go for it. So that's great. If you can't tell from our polls, our team really loves talking about food. So we would love to hear what gets your team fired up. So I'm going to put this question out there. And Angela is going to introduce our next guest.
Yes, so the team at YourCheck. Mike Skoronsky was forced to wear stride rights for years until he got his first pair of Air Jordans, which was one of the things that he told us about this summer. His favorite dessert is cheese Danish, and because of that, I learned how to make cheese Danish this summer. So thank you, Mike. Adam Smitty, in addition to being a Green Beret, started a career at med school, and he was a yoga teacher. His son, Theodore, likes monster trucks, and his daughter, Vivian, won the Carrying Coyote Award at school this year. Please welcome Adam Smitty of YourCheck.
Hi, I'm Adam Smitty, CEO and co-founder of YourCheck, and I want to introduce you to a friend of mine named Emily. Emily worked really hard to get to where she was in life. She was a biomedical engineer working out in the San Francisco area when she got that letter. She'd be going to the greatest university of the land, the University of Michigan, to earn her MBA. Her and her husband were very excited, and they wanted to come and enjoy the Michigan summer before starting school, so they tried to find that sublease in Ann Arbor. They looked on the traditional sites, apartments.com, but didn't find anything until they found something on Craigslist. There's an MLS ID. She did all the research she could. She signed some paperwork online and sent $3,500 via Venmo. But when she got out to Ann Arbor, she quickly realized that it was a fraud. The listing was real. It was a real place, but somebody actually owned the unit. She was out her $3,500 and started off her Michigan experience on the wrong foot. And we exist to prevent problems like these from happening, where two people are meeting online, not really knowing who the other person really is, if they're real or has the background they say they do. Whether it's a volunteer showing up to your site to perform a duty without the right background, somebody you're going to sublease to without the right rental record, or going on a date with somebody who's not even giving you your real name. All of those were real stories that came out of customer discovery, but they boil down to a simple truth. Today, you are expected to become your own private investigator, to keep yourself safe while operating on these platforms. Because one thing is for certain, is that anonymity is easy. And these platforms expect you not only to protect yourself, but to police the other users that are on them. One other thing came out of customer discovery is that women are most likely to use our platform. Whether it's buying or selling something expensive in a parking lot, going on a date with somebody and making sure that they are who they say they are, or trying to find services, whether it's for a babysitter, elder care, or a handyman to come into your home. And we took this one step further while in product development, and we conducted experiments and market testing. Over a 6-week period, we had 2,400 people come to us, and we confirmed, yes, the majority of those are female. But we had a big surprise, a 9% download rate, where we try to capture individuals' email addresses, showing them our solution, which is almost 3 times the average on the App Store in our product category, the utility category. And here's that solution, which really the Venmo of background checks, a way that I can obtain my own background check, review the results, which is a consumer report, and then share those directly with another individual without risking my privacy. Because we're only providing the results of those checks, not the details. We're not giving you my social security number, my date of birth, or where I live. Just yes or no, did I pass the check? So ultimately, how do we get on phones? How do we get in front of consumers? Well, we're going to continue that direct-to-consumer advertisement where we saw success in those download rates. But we also found channel partners. These are places where consumers are already going to get background checks done, but don't have access to the results outside of the employment context. So we get on their phones, and as soon as they're on there, then they have the ability to request this information from somebody else. And that's when we get into the organic growth, that huge network effect. Now that channel partner traction, a little more on that. Those nonprofits that are out there, there are several in the US, 10 states, in fact, that require every volunteer in that state to conduct a background check before performing a duty. And we're going to begin those partnerships with CAN, Community Action Network here in Ann Arbor, where they conduct hundreds of background checks on volunteers every year. We're in discussions with 2 other nonprofits currently, one on the East Coast in Philadelphia, vetting 175,000 volunteers a year, and another Michigan agency counseling over 4,000 homelessness cases every year. There's also women advocacy groups, like Every 2 Minutes, providing resources to women who are dating in metropolitan areas and on college campuses to feel safer. Now, the competition in the space falls into 2 buckets. There's the old guard, a Sterling Talent Solutions, formed in 1970, growing through acquisition of regional markets and new technology, or Checker, a startup that came out of Y Combinator, but services the gig economy and performance-based platforms like Uber, Lyft, and Airbnb. However, the industry lacks a solution for Emily, a place that she can go to verify somebody else that she's speaking to, or even consume her own consumer report to verify the results. And our business model is simple. We're sourcing this information either internally through our own processes or from other players in the industry, providing that directly to the consumer as a transaction. You will get your own criminal background check for $15, and we will guarantee your ability to share it for a 6-month period. And then we will have subscription-based services. Think about those nonprofits that need to onboard thousands of volunteers every year to integrate into their current practices. Or those gig workers, those professionals. Think about an electrician who not only should verify his criminal background, but also his certifications, because he needs to be licensed to be insured. That way, he can increase his own economic value when trying to obtain a customer. Now, our total addressable market is quite large, and there's overlap here, and that's by design, where there's that consumer space, that unregulated market, where consumers are interacting, doing anything and everything on the internet. Volunteers, 77 million Americans volunteered in the year 2018, and there are those 10 states that require the checks to be conducted, or the gig economy, which is growing year over year, especially in times of recession. Our team. Before getting my MBA at the University of Michigan, I spent 10.5 years in U.S. Army Special Forces, leading teams across the world through very difficult mission sets. I've also been through the background check ringer myself, having obtained the top secret security clearance. Mike Skoronsky, a Michigan MBA who specializes in business analytics and machine learning. He's also a database engineer, making solutions for large enterprise clients. And Tony Sell Esquire, a practicing attorney and Michigan law graduate. She's also a veteran entrepreneur herself, having previously launched a startup in Canada focused on becoming the Pokemon Go of tourism. Our timeline. We're going to be quickly launching our public beta, hopefully this week, next week. We'll be onboarding CAN, that Community Action Network of Washtenaw County, beginning next week, continuing to develop those conversations with other organizations, expanding our data sets throughout the year, using these volunteer orgs to help us develop our CRM to integrate with some of these other practices, and continuing that in the future. So what changes? If we were in the marketplace when Emily was looking for that sublease, she would have been able to verify who the person was that she was speaking to. And if the person went through the check, then she would have trusted us. And even if they did it, then we would have increased the trust with her by being able to vet the people she was talking to. She would have been able to keep that $3,500 and enjoy that Michigan experience as soon as she came to Ann Arbor, which is fabulous. I want to thank you for your time. If you'd like, you can go sign up to be one of our first beta testers at yourcheck.co/first customer, and go blue.
Thank you so much, Adam. I'm going to share the results of our last poll. If you were one of the people who said that you aren't talking to your peers, let me know. I can maybe think about adding you to our Slack channel. Now, Angela is going to kick off our Q&A.
Yes. So the first question is for Natalie Nochi. Can you explain, and this comes from Brianna Wolin, can you explain the dynamic you described with gamers wanting to be considered female gamers compared to the general industry consumer no longer wanting a true divide between male and female brands?
Yeah, right now the problem isn't so much about females wanting to be branded as female gamers. It's just that there aren't enough quality games with female gamers in mind of having healthy character dynamics that like female gamers are looking for. So our marketing communication is actually pretty gender neutral. Our focus is just making games to be inclusive and female friendly. So we're not perpetuating the negative female stereotypes that can be found in the games coming out of Asia right now. In fact, a lot of in our games, you can choose to either romance male or female. So it's very LGBTQ friendly. And we actually noticed we have a lot of female gamers as well, or male gamers as well. Actually, for Somnium 11, when we raised the Kickstarter, we actually indexed high on male gamers backing our game. So our focus is not so much like putting out the marketing message of female gamers only, but just making sure that we have quality games that are friendly for Western audiences.
Great. Thank you, Natalie. The next question I have is going to be for Janice and Nana. How brand loyal are Black women when selecting their braids, or does the stylist make the selection?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for asking that question. So in the Black hair care space, we see that folks that regularly go to a stylist really trust the opinions of their stylist. And if she says go out and get a product, you'll very much go out and do so. But particularly in this space, there's been little to no innovation. The marketing is lackluster, so folks aren't necessarily excited to go out and get something and try it. Whereas we see in this space for Black hair care shampoos, creams, and conditioners, the marketing is fabulous and the story of the brands really speak to people. So folks are willing to try new products and spend that premium amount on new products. And we hope to transition folks over to that mindset when it comes to braiding hair.
Thank you, Nana. The next question is for Yasmin or Rima. Why are you thinking of adding subscriptions, an entirely new revenue stream, as early as 2022?
I'm happy to take this one. Thank you, Brianna, for the question. So we are looking to monetize our audience through subscriptions as early as 2022 because we find two things. Firstly, we see that ads can be pretty volatile just as a stream of revenue. But not only that, we see that our audience is much more willing to pay for something like exclusive memberships right now or access to content that they can trust. And because trust is such a big factor with our audience, they would prefer to pay for subscriptions than be served ads constantly. So from, a sustainability perspective, as well as a community and trust focused perspective, subscriptions are our best bet.
Thank you, Rima. The next question is for YourCheck. This is from Samuel. What security protocols do you have in place, and what does the platform adhere to? And does the platform adhere to data regulations and privacy laws, GDPR, and other state privacy mandates?
Yeah, so I can answer that question. Yes, we do adhere to particular states' privacy laws. As far as the specifics of our security safeguards, I personally wouldn't like to discuss that on something that's going to be on YouTube forever. However, we do have our individuals' privacy in mind completely, and we won't be obviously disclosing information that should not be.
Adam, I'm going to keep you live for one more here. This is from Alexander. Even in edge occurrences, how do you address the liability of a missing red flag when vetting an individual? How do you harden the platform and mitigate losing customer or corporate trust in these cases?
Yeah, so that's a missing occurrence if something gets overlooked, right? So that is a concern across a lot of platforms. Whether it is your credit report or other criminal reports, but we try to go through the best practices that we can in the industry to make sure that we obtain every piece of relevant information possible to ensure that our data is both accurate, and then also we do maintain the privacy of individuals that are on it.
Thank you, Adam. I'm going to go into some of the answered questions just so that I can make sure that we get these live. So the next one is for Janice and Nana. There is an answer in the Q&A, but I'm going to re-ask it. Have you identified interest from a B2B perspective direct to salons that specialize in braiding? Is it typical for products like yours to be readily available within salons?
Yeah, as of right now, that's not something that's commonplace for Black hair care salons. So in other salons, there will be a representative that would come and promote a certain product to you. However, with braiding hair, the stylist is buying it from the same place as an individual who would do it at home. So when we do incorporate that B2B aspect of the business, we do want to cater to salons in that fashion, since they have been left out of that model, and it's shown successful with those other products. So we hope to see the same for braiding hair.
Thank you, Janice. Adam, I'm going to put you on the hot seat again. What level of background checks do you perform? Are you going to county offices where a person has lived to verify criminal charges?
Yeah, so what we're starting with is we're starting at the federal level, and this is a general practice across the industry, to see if there's anything that pops up. And then if there is something that is flagged, that information is chased down to that county level to be resurfaced later. And that does lengthen the process a little bit, but yes, we are going to that level.
And how do you deal with privacy concerns or hesitancy on the end of people getting checked who have taboo types of situations? For example, undocumented individuals, old marijuana charges, things like that.
Okay, so in those cases, so the differentiating factor for a platform is that we filter out the information that we present. So it's not going to be the entire background check that you're going to be seeing or the recipient of the background check. So depending on the level of the background check, you will only see the certain important information, whether this person is a sexual offender or whether does this person have a felony account. So for those reasons that we are not worried about those taboo situations, because we're very aware of the situation where all certain charges are not going to be important. So that's going to be our consideration going forward on our platform.
Thank you, Tony. Yasmin and Rima, this is also from the answered Q&A. What have you seen as particularly productive to add as a reward for the referral program versus the organic value of participating on the platform?
So we learned a lot from the Morning Brew model, actually. And so we tested the referral program to drive survey results. And so we found that the most cost-effective way was to use merchandise that we have already. And people were super excited about the opportunity to not only feel like they belong to a community with the merch that they're wearing, but also it was a great marketing opportunity for us. So we plan to design specific things like stickers, mugs, specific t-shirts, and that will give people the opportunity to have an incentive, but also feel like they are part of this community. So for high refers, we found that it's something higher that gets people really excited.
Wonderful. Thank you, Yasmin. All right, everybody, that is the end of our Q&A. I am going to share with you just some contact information so that if after this you want to reach out to us, be connected to our founders, be connected to the Desai Accelerator, please don't hesitate. Our website is desaiaccelerator.umich.edu. You can reach me at amkuyava@umich.edu and Katie Lind at katielind.umich.edu. Thank you so much for joining us on this unique, a little bit crazy, but really for us, wonderful demo day. We're so happy to have you here, and best of luck with the rest of your week. Go Blue.